Yo, what is up, you guys? Jamie Cox here, and today I'm bringing you the new series reacting to the Daytona Coke Zero Sugar 400. And today, I did the live stream. You guys seen my live reactions. If you tuned in, hopefully you're tuning back into this video. But yeah, you guys saw my live reactions. I'm gonna be doing that for every race from now on, or at least attempting to, as long as I don't have much going on that day. I'll try to get out a video if I do watch the race. So that just depends. The videos just depend on if I can watch the race or not. All right, but let's get into this race. And I gotta say is 4 words: heartbreak, anger, triumph, and defeat. To describe this race is all I can really say. Wow. At first I was gonna title this video called Aggressive, but after seeing the rest of the race, it was crazy. Alright, but to talk about the playoff implications entering the race today, and talking about the playoffs, it would have to come down to 3 drivers making it into the top 16. Matt DiBenedetto, William Byron, Jimmy Johnson. Anybody outside of them, below them in the points, has to win to get in. Okay, to talk about stage 1, it was more, so the first 20 laps up until the competition caution were very aggressive, which I was kind of surprised by. I kind of assumed like maybe they would have been more aggressive, but they were pushing it to the limit, you know? Like they were pushing that line to do something very big. That's what I must say. So not much happened more towards the middle of the stage after the competition caution, but up until the end of the stage. That's when things got a little crazy. So as you see the finishing results for the stage here, Joey Logano, Eric Jones, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Jimmy Johnson are your top 5 for the stage. So the ending of stage 1 was very, very interesting. Coming off turn 4, Kyle Busch slides up the track, gets sent backwards. That leaves room for Jimmy Johnson in the top 5 in the stage finish. So that being said, the drivers on the playoff board between Jimmy Johnson, William Byron, and Matt DiBenedetto, Jimmy Johnson finished the highest out of all of them, with William Byron finishing 2 spots behind, and then Matt DiBenedetto finishing 13th, not picking up any stage points in that stage. Now moving on to stage 2, not very much going on, such as stage 1. More strategy ran in stage 1 and 2 than any other part of the race, of course. More drivers just trying to stay calm up until they have to finish the race out to get to where they need to be. Alright, but the stage 2 finishing order right here, top 5, Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., Clint Bowyer, Kurt Busch, and Jimmy Johnson. Kind of scattered from what we just saw in the last stage, because mostly it was Joey Logano leading that Ford pack throughout the entire stage, and the entire last stage really. But Joey Logano ends up winning both of the first 2 stages here at Daytona. Stage 2 was just about the same as stage 1 really. More of that running on the top line, single foul train racing that we're used to seeing at super speedways now. One thing that I did find very interesting during that stage was the Chevys pitting, putting them about 30 seconds behind that Ford Toyota group. But they did end up catching that lead pack of the Ford and Toyotas with about 5 to go. And that led to a very interesting stage finish once again, because Kyle Busch was out in front of his little Toyota pack for a while, and that used up a lot of his gas. So he and I think Ricky Stenhouse had to pit with about 3 to go in the stage. And Kyle Busch was really trying hard to get to the inside line, but nobody was giving him room until he got right next to Stenhouse. Then Stenhouse kind of let him in line, really. And now the finish for that stage was fairly interesting. It was kind of tame compared to what stage 1's finish was, in my honest opinion. Really moving really good. Jimmy Johnson, especially in this Daytona race today. Now let's talk about the final stage. So once again, kind of like stage 1 and 2, towards about 45 laps to go, they were doing their little single foul train racing up on the highline once again. But there was a caution involving James Davison. I'm pretty sure he cut a left rear tire down, spun out, hit the wall into turn 1 and 2. But really, after that caution, that's when the playoff bubble got shook up a lot, you know. That's when it started going really crazy. And it was William Byron, then Matt DiBenedetto, then Jimmy Johnson, all jumping back and forth between who's in and who's out. I just could not stop watching it in the stream. I was just so I was so astonished to see how much it jumped around. But that's just Daytona racing, pack racing. You're moving positions no matter what. So, but really after that James Davison caution, it was just the plate racing we know. and all packed up, running hard against each other. But then, coming to 8 to go, Tyler Reddick makes a really, 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 really aggressive move. Moves up the track, has barely enough room in front of the 18, checks the 18 up a lot, takes him and the 18 up into the wall. The 8 gets off fairly clean. He barely hit the wall. The 18 got hard into the wall. That checked everybody up behind. That took out Eric Jones, one of the main contenders that had to win to get into this race. Took him out of the race. Eric Jones was definitely frustrated with that move. Took out Ryan Newman as well. Took out Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch. Luckily for both Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch, they are both locked into the playoffs. But unfortunately for Eric Jones, he got screwed. Really, he got screwed. But we get the restart with 6 to go. On the restart, the 22 and the 11 link up. The 22 shoves the 11 way out front. Coming off 5 to go, there's 4 wide entering to turn 1. Almost crashing. I don't know how they didn't crash before this, by the way. Some people were racing on the restart, especially Joey Logano. He was throwing blocks every which way. I don't know how he didn't turn himself or crash anybody behind him by the blocks he was throwing. And then on that same lap, in position, Bubba Wallace comes flying up the outside. Absolutely flying up the outside, leading the outside pack. Logano comes up and blocks. And then that leads us to the next lap. I may have gotten those laps wrong. I know, 3 to go, coming to 2 to go. Logano, biggest run. Has the biggest run, goes to the inside of the 11. Comes back up in front of the 11, sits in line, and Denny made a very, very aggressive move, and it's probably a move he shouldn't have made. While on 2 laps to go, Bubba is bringing that outside line. Denny makes that move. He's getting draft from the 22. He gets the side draft off the cars on the outside line. He's coming back to the inside line. He clips the 22 of Joey Logano. Then Joey Logano gets into the side of Bubba Wallace, causing Bubba to have a flat left rear. Not only that, but as this is all happening, the 43 and the 22 spread out. The 24, William Byron, makes probably the best move I've ever seen in my entire history of watching races. Slides perfectly between those 2 cars. Takes second place. But the 24 and 22 do make contact, and that makes the 22 get very loose. And he loses it in front of the field, and we have a big crash. And Tyler Reddick was involved in that crash, but he was another driver that could have used that win to get into the playoffs. But not only did that crash involve Tyler Reddick, it also involved Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson virtually being taken out of the race. Has nothing else he can do but run laps and try to finish, but it was not enough. Him being involved in that crash definitely set that race back for him. And that bad luck just continued for him. He did gain a few points on the final 2 laps on the overtime restart, because there was a bunch of crashes that happened, and it was just all scattered throughout the track. And he did gain a few points because of those positions he picked up, but it was not enough for him to make the playoffs, unfortunately. And now I want to talk about the finishing order here. William Byron picking up his first NASCAR Cup Series win on an amazing run. He well deserved this win, in my honest opinion. William Byron is one of the better younger drivers we have in the field, and it's finally time for him to start showing out. And what a better way for him to win than right now. Just gonna run down the top 5. Chase Elliott, I was surprised he got up there, but I guess he was in position after that last crash. 3rd, Denny Hamlin. He was running up front basically. He got away from that crash after he made his move on Joey Logano, and he ended up finishing 3rd. Martin Truex Jr. making big moves there at the end to get all the way up to 4th. Followed by Bubba Wallace finishing in 5th place, which I think he restarted 20th on that last restart before the overtime. Now I'm going to run down through the field here and check out some interesting finishers. Brendan Gaughan picking up an 8th place finish. Nice finish for him. He's usually pretty good at super speedway tracks. Matt DiBenedetto finishing 12th. All he really had to do was just finish the race at this point, and he was into the playoffs no matter what. Michael McDowell picking up a 14th place finish. He's usually really good at road courses and super speedways. Brennan Poole, Ross Chastain picking up spots after those crashes. big moves for them. Jimmie Johnson did end up finishing 17th, so still top 20 finish. But then Eric Almirola, Clint Boyer, and Kevin Harvick all got crashed on the final lap. And then everybody pretty much 21st on down was involved in some type of accident or had some type of mechanical failure. But now I want to talk about what Ryan Newman had to say about Tyler Reddick after that move that he made to block the 18 car. So, after exiting the infield care center, Ryan Newman, clearly very mad as you can see, standing both hands on the hips, you know he's angry. First words that leave his mouth after being asked, is he okay? I feel fine, but the 8 car just obviously ran out of talent. Big words. Wow. And then he went on to say, you can win a couple Xfinity championships and then stick your head where the sun don't shine if the time is right. Very strong words by Ryan Newman. And we all know Ryan Newman, if something bothers him, he's not going to hold back on saying anything. Even on the track, he's not going to let it bother him. He's gonna show you one way or another that he's upset with you. And he definitely in this interview showed you that he was upset with Tyler Reddick. And after that, Eric Jones voices in his interview after coming out of the infield care center. He clearly voices his frustrations with Eric Jones, talks about an incident at Pocono, clearly just ripping him for making that move, coming up the track while having that much speed in front of a car that literally had to let him in. And we all know Jones has to be frustrated because he's also one of those drivers that had to win to get into the playoffs. So maybe a lot of that has to do with his little frustration rant, you know. And it's just all so intense. You just have to understand what's happening at the time. And I guess that Tyler Reddick just went too aggressive trying to win the race. And it caused a very, very bad incident that should not have happened. Basically, Tyler Reddick goes on to say that he takes blame, and they have every right to be mad because that was clearly on him. And him causing that caution really ruined his chance to win because that put him in a bad spot due to the next restart when the big crash happened with Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and Jimmie Johnson being involved because he's also involved in that. And as I said, Tyler Reddick was one of those drivers that definitely had to win the race to make the playoffs. And he made a very aggressive move trying to do so and put himself in a hole. But at least he owned up and admitted to his mistake. That's really all you can do at that point. Maybe they'll work it out and smooth it over with each other, but we'll have to find out. Now, I want to talk about Jimmie Johnson. He was running so well in this race. I was rooting for him. I've been rooting for him all season. I really wanted him to get a win. I still want him to get a win, but I really wanted him to make the playoffs in his final season. But that will not happen. Now, I want to talk about William Byron. I want to play the move he made on screen right now.
So there's big contact right there with Bubba Wallace. But William Byron through the middle. Even more contact with William Byron. I think that's where...
And that move was what I was talking about earlier when I was explaining the incident that happened. Him swerving through there put himself in a position to win. If I was driving that car, I definitely would not have thought to do that. But he, being aggressive all day, running up front all day, having a very good car, just sent it, made it stick, and he got through there, and he definitely such a well-deserved win, man. I was so happy when I seen him win. He deserved this. It's been coming for a long time. Get ready to hear William Byron's name a lot here now, because this is going to give him a big confidence boost. I want to talk heartbreak. Definitely heartbreak for Jimmie Johnson. I already talked about Jimmie Johnson, but I want to retouch on it. Just bad luck all season, man. Oh, I really wish he could have made the playoffs. I still hope he gets his win, but I really wanted him to make the playoffs and at least have somewhat of a run. But it just didn't happen. I just can't stress enough how much it bothers me he doesn't make the playoffs for the last 2 years. How much bad luck he's had for the last 3. Oh, man. I want to talk about triumph now, as I said in the beginning. Talking about William Byron finally getting the win. I touched on him too, but Jesus, as I said, that win was so deserved. It's been coming. I'm finally happy to see that paying off for him. As I said, you're going to hear about him a lot here from now on out. So I want to talk about anger, talking about Ryan Newman and Eric Jones and Tyler Reddick. Eric Jones was more frustration towards Reddick, but it really wasn't bashing him in a way, but Ryan Newman laid that hammer in, and he just went ham. And that's Ryan Newman, though. It's if he, as I said, if he wants to say something or do something to you, he's gonna do it. Like he's not about that talk and not play. He's all play and all talk. Like he backs his words. So, but talking about defeat, I really just wanted to touch on those drivers that didn't make the playoffs. Eric Jones, Tyler Reddick, Jimmy Johnson, Christopher Bell was even running really good in this race. I failed to mention him earlier. All those drivers had good shots to win the day, and it just didn't happen for them. Now I want to talk about that overtime leading crash. So I want to get thoughts off my mind here. I seen a couple people in my stream chat talking about how Logano necessarily caused it because Logano was all over the place or so blocking aggressively. It was not necessarily Logano's fault, in my honest opinion. I have more of a feeling that it was Denny's fault. And even against my own bias, I have to admit that. Like, Denny made a very, very aggressive move at the wrong time. And I hope Denny says something about it or even admits to something about it. But at the same time, Denny really had so much of a run that I guess he may have just misjudged the run he had and just got into the back of the 22. But I just hope Denny says something about it. I hope people don't let this slide over. Now I want to get into the fan question. I had one fan question, but it was from a very close friend, and he had a very, very, very interesting question. Here it is, Robert Lee. Thank you for sending your question. Now here's the question. So, Robert's question was, what do you think about the social standing happening in other sports? And how do you think that it will impact NASCAR as such a predominantly white-ran sport? And my personal response, I have to say, I hate to say something like this, but I know the NBA, NHL, and MLB are all canceling games and boycotting, etc. right now due to the social standing, social injustice stuff. But I know that the drivers do want change and do want to do the right thing. But I don't think boycotting is necessarily in all of the drivers' political agenda. Also, as you said, that NASCAR is a predominantly white sport. So in NASCAR, there's not that shut up and play ball attitude that fans normally bring. Like, shut up and don't talk about these things. Just play sports. Stick to that, you know? But I also wanted to defend NASCAR here. While the NBA and all the other major sporting organizations were on the hiatus, and when NASCAR came back, they definitely did take a stand and did their thing with the Black Lives Matter. And they definitely did take a big stand on the social injustice point of view. And, like, I couldn't have been happier. Like, my sport standing up for this stuff. Like, I'm going to be completely honest here. I was very surprised they did, just knowing NASCAR's history and stuff. But it's time for change, you know? Everything's got to change at some point. I said I felt like it would be cool for NASCAR to boycott with them. Maybe just bump the races back, by a week or so and take the weekend and then chill out. But I said I personally just don't see it happening, and which it didn't. I know everybody has their opinion on this stuff, and I know this is the first episode of all this, and I'm very vocal about my point of views on things, and I don't want to push my point of views on other people. And while I want to be respectful of everybody's point of views, I just need people to understand more what's happening, and I want people to see more what's happening, but it doesn't seem like anybody wants to. Alright, but to flip that back around from that, so I want to give a rating on this race from 0 to 10. I'm have to give this race a rating of about 8.5, because really, stages 1 and 2, other than about the first 20 laps in stage 1, were a lot more tame than what I was expecting. And I'm not trying to base the entire race just based on, like, pack racing and craziness and stuff. Just, you know, looking at it from the casual fans' point of view, or newer fans' point of view, we're not gonna want to watch single file running around the top side racing, you know. But strategy side of things, everything was crazy. There was a bunch of jostling around on pit road with the manufacturers pitting together. Definitely shook up a lot of things. It seemed like Toyota and Ford were kind of on the same page, and Chevy was just off running their own little strategy over here. Unless it was just the Toyota to jump on to that Ford strategy afterward. But really, all in all, the race, it was a really good race, I will admit. The whole race, I was very entertained with strategy, not necessarily to celebrate it, but the crashes and everything. the finish was very good, and I have to once again congratulate William Byron on winning this race. And yeah, I'm gonna have to say that's about it. If I left anything out in this video, leave it down in the comments. I would like to hear it. If you have anything to say back to anything I said, leave it down in the comments. I love hearing about other people's points of views. But yeah, thanks for guys for watching. I need a name for the series, so if you guys have any name suggestions, leave them down in the comments below. Also, thank you guys for watching. That was the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona. Thank you.